Okay, so to do our rag and sphere drawing, okay, you're going to pick, as I said, one of the two. But before we do that, I'm going to open up your journal. And what I'd like you to do is to go past the last page that you have any sketches on. All right, go past that last page. So you have a blank page here as an in-between page. So I'm going to take this as my blank page, like a cover sheet, okay? And I'm going to do my drawing, as you see, on this page, all right? So this is just going to be a cover sheet, but we're going to use this cover sheet in a way that's going to show, we're going to create a value scale, all right? The 7-step value scale that we saw in the assignment, okay? So what we're going to do is, on this paper, you are going to need a ruler, all right? So you're going to need a ruler. And we're going to create the value scale right here. So if we look at our ruler, we're going to go with every ½ inch, all right? And we're going to use the ruler shape as the rectangle to create. So we're going to create a 3-sided rectangle. Now, in using a ruler and how to measure, all right, we've got our inches, which is the big lines. We've got the quarter, half, and 3/4, which are the next biggest lines. And then the small lines, those are eighths. So we're just going to be using the ½ inch and the whole inch marks. All right, so first things first, I want to just create this. And we are going to be creating a very simple 7-step value scale. The 8th step is going to be the 0 value. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to make a transition every ½ inch. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to set my ruler down right there, and I'm going to trace the left side of the ruler, and since I have 7 steps, I'm going to make half of that as far as the distance. All right, so half of 7 is 3½. All right, so now I'm just going to draw right along the ruler to 3½, and I'm going to make a little hash mark right above the 3½ inch mark, little bit of a hash mark. Now, I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. So here's the hash mark. I'm going to make a little hash mark right there, and then I'm going to trace the bottom of the ruler, just like that. Okay? So there I go. I have a very simple tracing of the ruler that's 3½ inches long. All right, now I want to set where the values are going to go. So the separations, we're not going to be drawing the lines like we did on the value scale on this one. What we're going to do is we're going to make hash marks as reference points. And we're going to make them every ½ inch. Just like that. And I'm going to make one more over here at the 4, because that's going to be my 0 value. Okay? So now that I've got that, now I can just label it. So I've got a 7, a 6, a 5, a 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay? Now, there's no lines, as I said, there's no lines. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to create a 7-step value scale from a 0 to a 7. Now, let's say you don't have a ruler. By chance, Mr. Amy, I don't have a ruler. Well, maybe you've got a 3x5 card at home. And a 3x5 card can be used to create this, this shape. If you have a 3x5 card and you have lines on them, each of these lines is a 1/4 inch. So we can use these as the spacing marks. So here's what we're going to do. If you don't have a ruler, you're going to do the same thing. Okay, just take the 3x5 card, and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 is 1 inch. All right, so I put this right on that 4th line right there, and I draw a line up, trace the edge of the card there, and I draw a line along here. Now, I don't know how long 3½ inches is, so I can just go, this is 5 inches, so that's probably 4. So I went a little bit farther than I had to, which is okay. And now I'll just take the card, and I'll put it at the bottom, and I will draw those lines right, just tracing the 3x5 card right there. Okay? That's pretty much the same thing I did with the ruler. Now, to make the hash marks every ½ inch, I can just line the card up just like this, even with the edge on the left, and then skip every other line, All right, so how many does that give me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know I need 7, so I'll just slide it over like this. So that gives me 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I need one more for my 0 value right here, and that gives me 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And now I can do it if I don't have a ruler. All right. Simple enough, right? 3x5 card with some lines on it. Now, with this assignment being something where we're adding and subtracting pressure and following the contours, you'll have a value scale up here to refer to so you know what shades need to go where. So if I look here, I can see there's a 7 value, so whatever the 7 value I have here is going to be the 7 value I have here, and down here for the cast shadows, all right, and some of the other dark areas. So this is going to be my reference, just like it was on the value exercise. Now, instead of starting off at the darkest value on this, let's start off at the light value, but hold our pencil somewhere near the middle, with our index finger, okay? So you can see where my pencil's kind of in the middle. And I'm going to do this just by adding pressure. So if I start here on my 0 value, okay, just holding the pencil with almost no pressure, the 0 value is pure white, so I'm not making any mark there. So if I start right here at the half value, the 0.5, super light, just the graphite touching the paper. And then I move into the 1, just put a little bit more pressure, okay, a little bit more pressure into the value. And this is what I was describing when we were doing the value exercise, in putting a light value in and then slowly building it darker. So I hit the 1 value, and I'm going to add a little bit of pressure here into the 2 value. Notice I didn't move my hand. I'm still holding the pencil here in the middle. My pencil's nice and sharp. I'm holding it by using the side of the graphite. So here's my 2 value. And I can look and say, that got a little bit too dark right there for a 2 value. So let me go back in and lighten this up. It's okay. That's why it's better to do if it's lighter. It's easier to erase and lessen the pressure. Okay? So if I keep going with that 1, and the 1.5, into a 2, into a 3, and it's just, the 3 becomes me just adding more pressure. 3.5, 4, just adding a little bit of pressure. 4.5, a little bit more pressure into the 5. A little bit more pressure into the 6. A little bit more pressure into the 7. And see, I'm still holding my pencil back here, just putting more pressure and lifting up the back of the hand a little bit to put a little bit more pressure down on the pencil point. Okay? So if I look at that, I can see that that's a pretty good scale. It might get a little bit too light here where I went back in and I made an adjustment and maybe it jumps a little bit too quickly from the 7 to the 6. So that's fine. I can just go back in and create a smoother gradation between the 7 and the 6. And then maybe a little bit darker because the 3 here looks a little bit darker than the 4, so I'll make an adjustment there by just adding a little bit of pressure onto my 4, and then have that grade 8 out to my 1 value to the 0. And that gives us a really good reference point for what we're going to need to do when we start shading that.